morning. Whoa. Good morning, families and kids. Welcome to lesson number 3 for our Press Play series of June. We're really excited that you are here joining us this morning. We are learning all about how to grow in confidence in who God made us to be. And yes, this is lesson number 3, and we're going to continue with this theme all month long. Now today, we're going to learn about someone who wasn't so confident in what God was saying to him. And he had to hear it a few times and had to be shown a few times, and then he was able to press play and jump in. I'm sure there are times in your life where maybe you're trying a new sport, like this. Maybe it's a new sport like water skiing. Or maybe you're going to go on a big mountain bike ride. Or you're going to go hit the links. And by links, I mean golf links, like a golf course, not like a lynx cat. Don't mess with the lynx cat. Or maybe you're doing something new in school and you weren't confident in your skills. You're like, I don't know about this. I'm not so sure if I'm good at that thing. But you know what? God gives us the confidence and the strength to step up and to try something. You're going to have so many opportunities to try different things in your life. And God is going to show you things that you're really, really strong at and the things that He's called you to do. We've talked about some things that are just like sports or school, but God also might be inspiring you to maybe talk to a friend, tell someone about your faith and what you believe and how Jesus loves us. So why don't we check out our memory verse for this month before we hop on in and watch the video lesson today. Here is something I am still sure of. I will see the Lord's goodness while I'm still alive. Psalm 27:13.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Judges, chapters 6 through 8.
As many times before, the Israelites turned away from God. He allowed the Midianites to take over their land. God's people hid out in caves. When they tried to grow plants or tend to livestock, the Midianites would show up and destroy their crops and animals. At last, the Israelites cried out to God for help. He heard them and sent the angel of the Lord to a man named Gideon, who was threshing grain in a winepress.
Mighty warrior, the Lord is with you.
All Gideon could do for a moment was stop and stare.
Pardon me, sir. You said the Lord is with us? Then why has all this happened? The Lord has deserted us.
You are strong. Go and save Israel from the power of Midian. I am sending you.
Pardon me, sir, but how can I possibly save Israel? My family is the weakest in the tribe, and I'm the least important member.
I will be with you.
Even with a direct message from the Lord, Gideon was still nervous about the whole thing.
Give me a special sign. Then I'll know it's really you talking to me.
So God gave Gideon a sign, sending fire to burn up meat and bread. God's spirit was with Gideon, and when the Midianites and the Amalekites gathered to attack, Gideon sounded a trumpet for the Israelites to follow him. But even as the army gathered, Gideon once again pleaded to God for another sign. God responded by letting dew fall on a fleece, and then on the next day, only on the ground surrounding it.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
At last, Gideon was convinced God wanted to use him. He camped with 32,000 men at the spring of Harod and prepared for battle. Here, God spoke again.
I want to hand Midian over to you, but you have too many men.
Too many?
Israel might brag, my own strength has saved me. Announce to the army, those who tremble with fear can turn back.
Gideon did just as the Lord instructed.
There, Lord. 22,000 men have gone home. Only 10,000 left to fight.
There are still too many men.
Have you seen the Midianite army?
Take the men down to the water. There I will reduce the number of them for you.
Even though it must have worried Gideon to lose more of his army, he did just as the Lord said.
Field trip to the lake, everyone!
At the water's edge, the Lord said,
Some men will drink the way dogs do. They will lap up the water with their tongues. Separate them from those who get down on their knees to drink.
Gideon watched carefully. Most men got on their knees and drank directly from the water, but 300 men cupped the water in their hands and lifted them to their mouths to lap.
So, God, I send those 300 men home and keep the other 9,700, right?
With the help of the 300 men who lapped up the water, I will save you. Let all the other men go home.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
Gideon sent home every single person in the army except those 300 men.
Get some sleep. Tomorrow we will figure out what's next.
That night, the Lord spoke to Gideon once more.
Get up.
What? Oh, I'm awake.
Gideon stumbled out of his tent. Below, the campfires and torches of the enemy armies covered the entire valley.
So many. Like a swarm of locusts.
Go down to the camp. Listen to what they are saying. After that, you will not be afraid to attack.
Wondering if he might be dreaming, Gideon snuck down the mountain to hover in the shadows at the edge of the camp. He could hear voices from a nearby tent.
I had a dream. A round loaf of barley bread came rolling into the camp. It hit the tent with great force and knocked it flat.
Wow, but that can only be the sword of Gideon from Israel. God has given him the whole camp.
Gideon listened in shock.
Wow, God. Thank you.
At once, Gideon scrambled back up the hill to the Israelite camp.
Get up! Get up! The Lord has handed the Midianites over to you.
Quickly, Gideon separated the 300 men into 3 groups and handed each one a trumpet and a clay jar with a torch inside.
Watch me. Do what I do. I'll go to the edge of the enemy camp. Then we'll blow our trumpets from all around the camp and shout, "For the Lord and for Gideon!"
Gideon and his men headed quietly down the slope, fanning out in groups to surround the vast enemy camp.
Okay, get ready.
As soon as Gideon sounded his trumpet, he smashed his jar so the torch shone brightly. The other 300 men did the same.
For the Lord! A sword for the Lord! Gideon!
The Israelites held their ground, but their enemies panicked, confused by the trumpets and bright lights that pierced the dark night.
They're coming from everywhere.
The enemy armies were so confused, they began to fight each other, and then they fled in fear.
After the men!
Gideon and the Israelites chased their enemies all the way to the Jordan River and beyond until all the enemy armies were destroyed. The Israelites begged Gideon to rule over them.
I will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you.
Yep, Gideon was an underdog, filled with doubt, but he still chose to follow God, and God used him to save the Israelites.
I think Gideon's story is pretty awesome. How God kept on testing his faith and testing his trust. And Gideon had to really lean in and trust in God's plan and have confidence in who God is and that he was going to give Israel the victory. And you know what? He came through. And just like in your own life, you can have confidence in God's plan no matter what. He loves you and he is with you, and you can step out and do the big things that he's calling you to do with trust in him. So maybe it's that new sport, maybe it's something at school, maybe it's talking to someone new at school, or maybe it's just telling others about God. There are so many ways that we can be confident in what God is speaking to us and confident in ourselves. And we want to continue to learn about that and practice that this week. Be sure to check out our other lessons. They're all available on our website or on our YouTube. Our VBS is coming up in July. It's also called Press Play. We're going to dive into this idea of jumping into life with God, and it's going to be really, really exciting. Leah, Michaela, and myself will all be there, and we're pretty stoked on what it's going to look like this year. So head on over to our website and sign up for that. Tell your friends. We are still doing in-person Kid City lessons at the park, so make sure you sign up online, tell your parents, and you can come hang out with us and we'll play some games and we'll learn about these stories together. Well, that's it here. I'm gonna go run around. I'm gonna go play a little b-ball, maybe go for a little bike ride. I'm gonna get out there, try something new. I hope that you have an awesome week. Why don't you try something new today and be confident in who God made you to be. We'll see you next time. Bye.